Well, I'd like to turn now a little bit to Moz and how it can benefit professional services firms. So,
Okay.
if you can give, if there's anyone in marketing, I don't know who they are, I've never met them, but if there's anyone in marketing who doesn't know what Moz is, if you can explain it for those folks, and then let's talk a little bit about how that applies to professional services in 2015.
Sure. So Moz is essentially a resource, a huge collection of resources to help learn and do search engine optimization and some social media marketing and content marketing as well. Our software is sort of free to try out. So I would suggest if SEO is something that you're practicing on a regular basis, every week you're thinking about how your keywords are ranking and how to improve performance, and you know that those keywords are bringing you valuable traffic that potentially converts, Moz is probably a good investment. If you're not doing SEO on a regular basis, I don't think it's a right move for you.
Well, it's certainly something we are in love with in Hinge. It's
thanks very
one
much.
of our favorites. It really is.
That's really kind. But in addition to the software itself, we've also got a number of free tools that you can try out. Open Site Explorer is one that's very popular with folks. The Moz Bar, for those of you who are surfing around the web and want to see how important and authoritative the websites you're on are, or do quick auditing of the pages that you're visiting. And then, of course, we have a tremendous number of free resources, which are just designed to help people learn SEO, understand the practice, and to make what Google and Bing and Twitter and Facebook and all these platforms are doing more transparent. One of my big frustrations, throughout my career has been that I think a lot of the challenges that marketers experience are because these platforms and networks and search engines don't make their operations as transparent as they could or should. And as a result, you get a lot of snake oil. You get a lot of, unfortunately, you get service providers and professional services firms and, software ugliness that takes advantage and abuses these systems and people's ignorance about how the networks work. And so Moz is really, we exist to try and fight against that.
Amen. So talk to us a little bit about what SEO means now in contemporary, because it's certainly changed from when you started.
Yeah, I think the underlying definition is still the same, which is that you're trying to make your site more valuable and optimize all sorts of technical and creative and content operations that you're investing in, so that you can earn greater amounts of organic search engine traffic, right? So, 6 billion or so searches are performed on Google every day. The split between paid to organic, right? Paid would be the ads at the top and on the right sidebar. Those get about 18 to 20% of all the clicks that Google generates. The other 80%, that's going to organic search, right? That's where you have an opportunity to rank and earn traffic without spending money if you can provide what searchers are seeking. And I think what's changed over the last 5-10 years, 10 years especially, and certainly 5 years as well, are the methodologies around how you go about doing that and what search engines consider, which is just becoming so vast and so broad that you could almost think of everything that you invest in from a marketing and a web development perspective to contribute, hopefully positively, to your SEO efforts, right? Search engines are looking at, yes, they're still looking at keywords and links, which they always have, and they're looking at, can we actually crawl and access these pages? So you have to get those fundamentals right. Who's going to link to me? Why will they link to me? Those links need to be editorial. They need to be organic. They need to be true endorsements. And I think that's a big challenge for many marketers to figure out. Thankfully, content marketing is actually one of the best ways to earn those links and citations and awareness. You need to choose the right keywords, right? Things that people are actually searching searching for, as opposed to, getting extremely creative with your language, which I think can be wonderful for creative writers, but it's pretty frustrating and tough for searchers, for search engines, and for marketers who want to be in front of those folks. And then you need to make sure that your website is crawlable and accessible. You don't have errors. You're not blocking robots. You're not creating 10 different forms of the same content on 10 different pages, and the search engines don't know which one to interpret as the original or canonical version. And now search engines are looking a lot more at things like user experience, at brand. More popular websites, right? Websites that really they see solving everyone's problem in a particular niche. They're starting to recognize that topical authority through a variety of inputs and rewarding those. They're looking at user experience things like, does your site load quickly? Are you providing responsive design, right? They just came out with an announcement that I think April 21st, right? Mobile friendliness is going to become a bigger ranking factor across not just all countries, but for desktop searchers as well, right? So they're thinking about, do you provide a great user experience? And then I think they're also looking at engagement types of things. Are people, when they get to your site, are they truly engaging with your content, or do they click the back button pretty quick and choose another result? So all of these things, which can be influenced directly and indirectly, are now part of SEO. It's a very big field these days.
So how does that translate into how should a marketer in a professional services firm think about SEO? What proportion of their budget should it be? How central should it be to their thinking?
I think that is totally dependent on how your sales and marketing funnel operates and the goals of your organization sort of long term. So if you're thinking to yourself, hey, content is going to be a big investment for us. Search traffic is obviously a huge way to drive relevant, valuable traffic to content. And those people tend to, some percentage of them tend to convert or to help us amplify our message or get our brand out there. Then SEO is going to be a huge investment that you make. If, on the other hand, most of your, content is created purely for one-to-one types of sharing with clients that you already have, and most of your clients are coming through referrals anyway, and you're not paying for paid search traffic because you found that search traffic visitors and conversions just aren't as valuable as whatever other methods you're using to get clients, then I think it's just fine to say SEO isn't something we're going to invest in. And it's really healthy to be intentional about that funnel and to understand, hey, we're choosing to do this, which means we're not choosing to do this. And I do that with SEO too, right? SEO isn't something every single company should invest in. It's something companies who have strengths in that area and who can get clients in those areas should invest in.
Yes. Well, very interesting point you raise up about referrals, because I know a lot of professional services firms think, well, our website or our SEO isn't important because we exist on referrals. One of the things we just published a study on referrals, and we found that about 80% of firms get referrals from folks they haven't worked with directly or indirectly. Yeah. And then you ask those people, how did you hear about it? How did you refer? And of course, the way they heard about it is they either saw them speak, or they saw an article, a blog they wrote, or they found them on social media. So even if you think it's not important and you think you exist on referrals, you're probably missing a big part of it if you don't understand that whole ecosystem of how referrals get made.
That's right. I think unless you're in that 20% of people who are getting their referrals exclusively and primarily directly from other clients, the 80% are coming through non-clients, and that means you need to figure out what those investments were that drove those folks and how can you grow those over time and all of those things.
Yes. So what are the key takeaways for someone who wants to do a successful content marketing program in a professional services context? Where do you see people messing up, or the most common things that they get wrong? I think by now there's a lot of folks who kind of understand content marketing on a very high level, that what it's supposed to be or what it sounds like, but they still get things wrong. Where does that usually go wrong?
So actually, I have a presentation that is all about that I might urge folks to check out. It's available on SlideShare. It's free. It's called "Why Content Marketing Fails," and it walks through kind of four big things that everyone gets pretty consistently wrong. Yeah, and that would be, I think that at a high level, a few of those include thinking that content marketing directly drives conversion or revenue, right? This is not I write a blog post, it ranks in search, or it does well in social media, people visit it, and then they sign up to my email form and they become customers. If that's how you're investing in content, you're going to fail every time, because what really happens is folks visit 10, 11, 12 times, and then, right, only after observing, hey, I really enjoy and appreciate what's going on here, and this resonates with me, only then do you get that conversion. So Moz, for example, I think it's 8.5 visits on average before someone takes a free trial of our software. Mm-hmm. And that's 8.5 visits that we can track, right, on the same device. Mm-hmm. So probably they're also visiting on a mobile, a tablet, a home desktop versus a work one, those kinds of things. And so knowing that our path to conversion is very long, we don't try to convert people super early. We just try and help them in the hopes that they'll appreciate what the brand has and come back in the future.
Mm-hmm. I think it's very interesting that our pattern is very similar in terms of how long it takes people, how many times they interact with our content before they give us a call or fill out a form or something along those lines. So it's very parallel. I think proving once again, people are people.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's what happens is we all get biased by kind of the retail experience, mm-hmm. right? Which is, I'm walking down the street, I walk into a store, I buy something. That was the first time I'm in that store, and I made this purchase. And so then we think that's how the web must work. And, I transact directly, that visiting a website is like visiting a store. But that's not the case at all. And I think being able to track that, observe it, understand it is critically important. Another big failure I see people making, and we don't have to go through all of them, but another big one I see is people invest in content without thinking about who will help them amplify it and why. Right? I think if you can't answer the question, who will help me share this content and why will they want to, you shouldn't publish it. Unless you have a great answer for that, don't bother making the piece, right? If it's simply content that you think, well, it targets a good keyword and, it's unique content, good unique content, so therefore I should publish it. Mm-hmm. I think that's actually a misnomer, and I think that's misled a lot of folks. The vast majority of shares, of links, of metrics of all kinds, engagement, etc., that you would want on content goes to the top 5%, right? Top 1%, top 5% of content pieces. Sort of like, it's like income distribution in San Francisco. It's just all biased to the top. And so I would really urge folks to say, what can we do that's going to get people behind it? Why will they share this? Mm-hmm. And I think you have to be able to trigger the right emotions and the right psychologies in an audience. And you have to know who that audience is that you're trying to reach and target and how you're going to reach them in order to have success.
Which brings me to kind of a final point that I think that a lot of people get hung up on. And they say, well, we sell our professional services to, very large companies, and I don't think the CEO is ever going to read our blog, or they're not going to be on Twitter. So what good does it do us? And we believe very much that there's a whole ecosystem of people that influence the CEO and so forth. But I'm wondering what your experience is with that and how you would respond.
So I'd say a few things. One, for modern companies, it's very rare that you have C-level executives who aren't at least consuming social media, if not actively monitoring it and trying to build their own profiles, right? And I think that's an important thing that I would urge executives in general to do at least a little bit of. The other thing I would say is the executives that I know are huge content consumers, right? They will read and skim through a tremendous amount, right? So they're very good at looking at a headline or looking at a headline and the first few lines and saying, okay, I can ignore that, but I need to be aware of and up on the latest in any given field, in my field in particular. Mm-hmm. So I would challenge that thinking. And then I would also challenge that executives are typically the ones making the decision about which professional services firm to hire. I can tell you honestly that, when I was CEO of Moz, I maybe made the call personally where I was the person who said, hey, we should use this company. Maybe I did that twice, maybe 3 times. The vast majority of professional services firms that we used were coming from the individual contributors in a given area, right? So my operations person would say, hey, I want to use this legal firm. My marketing folks would say, hey, we want to use this company to help us with retargeting. My engineering teams would say, hey, we want to hire these consultants for H-based database optimization. Okay, right? Like, all I would say is, do you really like them? Is it a good price? You feel like you're getting what you need? Cool, I'll sign, right? Sometimes they didn't even ask that. I'd just say, hey, I trust you. If that's what you want to go with, we're going with them. And I think that's true in a tremendous number of companies. So the bigger the company you work with, the less likely it is that those C-level folks are actually making the decision. It's going to be individual contributors in those fields and those departments who are selecting the firm.
Verifying the recommendation.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, this has been a lot of fun and very, very helpful. I really appreciate it. And we wish you the best of luck on Moz and its continued success and on your continued success. And I can't wait to see how high your hair is going to eventually go.
I'll spike it up for you tomorrow.
Okay. You got it. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.